Hello everyone, welcome to the course of Survey of Major English-Speaking Countries. Today, we're going to learn something about Chapter 1, General Introduction of Great Britain. This lecture is about Lesson B, the Introduction of London, Section 1. London is the capital of England and United Kingdom, the largest metropolitan area in the United Kingdom and the largest urban zone in the European Union by most measures. London is dominant in the UK in all fields: government, economy, and culture. London has been a major settlement for 2 millennia, its history going back to its founding by the Romans, who called it Londinium. London's ancient core, the City of London, largely retains the square-mile medieval boundaries. Since at least the 17th century, the name London has also referred to the metropolis developed around this core. The bulk of this combination forms the London region and the Greater London Administrative Area, governed by the elected Mayor of London and the London Assembly. London is a leading global city with strength in the arts, commerce, education, entertainment, fashion, finance, healthcare, media, professional services, research and development, tourism, and transportation, all contributing to its prominence. It is the world's largest financial center alongside New York. Has the largest city GDP in Europe and it's home to the headquarters of more than 100 of Europe's 500 largest companies. It has the most international visitors of any city in the world. London Heathrow is the world's busiest airport by numbers of international passengers. London's 43 universities form the largest concentration of higher education institutions in Europe. In 2012, London will become the first city to host the Summer Olympic Games 3 times. London has a diverse range of peoples, cultures, and religions, and more than 300 languages are spoken within its boundaries. In July 2007, it had an official population of 7,556,900 within the boundaries of Greater London, making it the most populous municipality in the European Union. The Greater London urban area is the second largest in the EU, with a population of 8,278,251, while London's metropolitan area is the largest in the EU, with an estimated total population of between 12 million and 14 million. London is the home to numerous museums, galleries, libraries, sporting events, and other cultural institutions, including the British Museum, National Gallery, British Library, Wimbledon, and 40 theatres. London's Chinatown is the largest in Europe. The London Underground Network is the oldest underground railway network in the world and the most extensive after the Shanghai Metro. London contains 4 World Heritage Sites: the Tower of London, Kew Gardens, the site comprising the Palace of Westminster, Westminster Abbey, and St. Margaret's Church, and the historic settlement in Greenwich, where the Royal Observatory Greenwich defines the prime meridian, 0° longitude, and Greenwich Mean Time. Other landmarks include Buckingham Palace, the London Eye, Piccadilly Circus, St. Paul's Cathedral, Tower Bridge. London has numerous museums, galleries, libraries, and sporting events. These include the British Museum, National Gallery, National History Museum, Tate Museum, British Library, and West End theaters. Today, I'm going to introduce 2 places in London to all of you. First, the Buckingham Palace. The Buckingham Palace serves as both the office and London residence of Her Majesty the Queen. It is one of the few working royal places remaining in the world today. During the summer, visitors can tour the 19 staterooms which form the heart of the palace. These significant rooms are decorated with some of the greatest treasures from the royal collection, including paintings by Rembrandt, Rubens, and other great artists. More than 600 rooms, including 50 royal and guest rooms, 188 staff bedrooms, 92 offices, and 78 bathrooms comprise the castle's assets. But the room best known around the world is the balcony, where the royal family gathers on celebratory and solemn occasions to be seen by their subjects. The forecourt below is witness to the ceremony of the changing of the guard. In their full dress uniform of red tunic, black paints, and bearskin hats, the ceremony is a magnet for tourists. The palace is more than a home for the royals. It is the official administrative headquarters of the monarchy and contains offices of their staff. It is the place where all royal ceremonies and official banquets are held. Government ministers, top civil servants, and heads of state visit to carry out their duties. More than 50,000 people visit Buckingham Palace each year, either officially or as guests. It brings a whole new meaning to the phrase, working from home. One of the greatest tourist attractions at Buckingham Palace is the changing of the guard. Takes place at 10:30 a.m. on certain days in February, March, and April. The guard which mounts at Buckingham Palace is called the Queen's Guard and is divided into 2 detachments. The Buckingham Palace Detachment, which is responsible for guarding Buckingham Palace, and the St. James Palace Detachment, which guards St. James Palace. The palace is setting for state occasions and royal entertaining, a base for many officially visiting heads of state and a major tourist attraction. It has been a rallying point for the British people at times of national rejoicing, crisis, or grief. Although in use for many official events and receptions held by the Queen, the staterooms at Buckingham Palace are open to visitors every year. But anyone hoping to take a selfie with the Queen should first check which flag is flying above the palace. If it's the royal standard, a flag with 4 quadrants, 3 containing red lions on gold backgrounds, and the 4th a gold harp on blue, Her Royal Highness is just meters away, carrying out her queenly duties, or maybe just sipping some tea and peering through one of her 760 sets of curtains. The palace is very much a working building and the centerpiece of Britain's constitutional monarchy. It houses the offices of those who support the day-to-day activities and duties of the Queen and the Duke of Edinburgh and their family. Second, Tower of London. Founded nearly a millennium ago, the Tower of London has been expanded upon over the centuries by many a king and queen. The first foundations were laid in 1078, and the castle has been constantly improved and extended. The Tower of London is the oldest palace, fortress, and prison in Europe. The origins of the tower begin with the Norman invasion of England. William, Duke of Normandy, met King Harold at the Battle of Hastings on the 14th October 1066. The Duke's Norman warriors won the battle. The William was crowned king on Christmas Day. William was a foreigner in a land he did not yet finally control. He needed a stronghold to keep the rebellious citizens of London in line. The site William chose for this castle was the very same site upon which Claudius, the Roman emperor, had built a fortress more than 1,000 years before. And traces the old Roman walls can still be seen within the tower grounds. The addition of other smaller towers, extra buildings, walls, and walkways gradually transformed the original building into the splendid example of a castle, fortress, prison, palace, and finally, museum that we enjoy today. The Tower of London is one of the world's oldest and most famous prisons, though its original purpose was not to house criminals. In fact, the tower, which is actually a complex of several towers and structures, was built in the latter part of the 11th century as fortress to protect London, the capital city of the British Empire. The Tower of London soon became notorious for its other, more brutal uses. As cruel as the place was known to be, executions were relatively common at the Tower of London. Scores of prisoners were executed at the site by beheading, firing squad, and hanging. Writer and statesman Sir Thomas More was beheaded in the Tower after refusing to recognize King Henry VIII as head of Church of England in 1535. A year later, Henry VIII famously ordered the beheading of his wife, Anne Boleyn. In 1542, Henry VIII had his fifth wife, Catherine Howard, executed at the Tower of London as well. Today, the Tower of London is one of the most famous castles in the world and is now a World Heritage Site, attracting more than 2 million visitors a year. The main threat to the site today is not rebels, foreign armies, or falling bombs. Bomb damage happened during World War II, but rather the exhaust of cars. It's a problem that threatens to turn the White Tower into a yellow color, something which none of the previous threats could ever do.